Hello, everybody. It's Mari-Lyn Harris of Hard at Work, and we're doing the podcast about how to create impactful legacy for yourself. So, with me today, I have Michael Tanner. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Mari-Lyn. It's an honor to be with you and your audience. Thank you so much
Okay.
for this opportunity.
Yay, you're welcome. Michael and I just talked maybe a week ago, so it feels like we're just returning to our
Right,
original
right.
conversation.
Yeah, starting a
So,
great new friendship.
yeah. So anyway, my show is about creating an impactful legacy, and it's just really about connecting the dots and helping workplaces have a better work culture, better team building, and less friction, more communication. I think that's the biggest issue is more communication.
Yeah.
So anyway, Michael, tell us how you got started doing what you're doing now.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Thanks so much for that opportunity, Mary-Lyn. What I do today is I teach, lead, train, coach on leadership and team building. And
Hmm.
I've been in leadership. I say it this way: I've been in professional leadership since 1993. So that's roughly 27 years or
Yeah,
so, where I was in a professional leadership position, meaning I got paid
paid.
to do things in
Right.
leadership, right?
Yeah.
And so I've just got a wealth of leadership experience that goes all the way back to the United States Marine Corps, and
Hmm.
now all the way into the corporate world, where I sit in a C-suite executive position, and now the founder of a leadership development firm, right?
Hmm.
And so I just want to share that wealth of knowledge in leadership with individuals that are looking to grow their career, advance their career, become better, more beloved leaders within their group,
Hmm.
but also businesses and teams that are really looking for the competitive advantage that is a good, cohesive team. Because I
Hmm.
believe no matter what industry you're in, if you have a good, trusting, cohesive team,
Hmm.
then you have a competitive advantage over all of your competitors, because you're probably building similar products. You're probably serving your customer in similar ways,
Hmm.
but you'll beat out your competitors with a good cohesive team. And so that's what I do today. I just love watching people as individuals or as teams win at growing their career and growing their businesses.
Yeah, it's nice to see that light bulb moment click in
Yes.
with them, and you're like, yes.
Yeah. It's so awesome. I
Yeah,
tell my story of kind of my transition into
yeah.
leadership, and at one time when I left the United States Marine Corps, I got into software development.
Hmm.
And so I just wanted the business to give me a big problem to solve. Give me a problem, let me write software and solve the problem for this business. And every iteration, I wanted a bigger problem, and then a bigger problem, then a bigger problem. Well, you can see how this evolves. Eventually, the problems get big enough that I can't solve on my own.
Right.
And so I asked for a team, and
Hmm.
lo and behold, they gave me a team.
Hmm.
And so now I'm a software developer trying to solve big problems and leading a team.
Right.
And it's in that moment that my passion shifted from solving big problems
Hmm.
to watching other people solve those big problems. I just get energized by watching people win.
Hmm.
And so that's why I'm doing what I do today, is because it's just a real passion of mine to coach others and see them win.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's always a great aspiration to have. So
Yes.
tell me a little bit about whether it's you're working with your clients that you help them to be leaders, or whether you want to do it from your work perspective as a leader, as
Mhm.
what is some of the biggest challenges that you face in either role?
Mm. Very good question, Mary Lynn. One of the probably the first and probably the biggest obstacle to overcome around leadership development is just the recognition of its necessity, right?
Hmm.
And so if you look at it from a viewpoint of an individual, so if you take an individual that maybe is in the sales industry,
Right.
well, they don't recognize their need for leadership development in a lot of cases.
Right.
They oftentimes they get caught into this cycle that I call career survival, because what they will do is they will spend a lot of their extracurricular time and money
Hmm.
and effort in learning sales techniques and tactics and tools and tricks and all of those things, which is obviously very necessary. I mean, you have to keep up in your industry. You can't
Right.
just ignore it and let others, you know, surpass you. So you have to do that. But I call that career survival, because you're only keeping up with everyone else.
Right.
But if you recognize that your need for leadership development on top of that industry specific skill set, now you set yourself up to differentiate yourself against those others, because now not only can you be a great salesman,
Mm-hmm.
but you can lead a team of great salesmen as well. And so
Right.
therefore, you know, your impact on the business can grow beyond your individual contribution when you have leadership development skills. And so I see that as the big hurdle, is first just recognizing you need to develop your leadership development skills. Uh, I see it likewise in the corporate world, you know,
Right.
from a business standpoint. How many times do we hear the stories of the great salesman that was promoted to a sales manager,
Yeah.
but never giving any kind of leadership training or education,
Yeah.
and it's just a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And so even corporations and businesses and teams, they don't necessarily recognize the need for and value in leadership development of their team members either. And I think that's probably the first hurdle to overcome as it
Mm-hmm.
relates to what I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was just, as you were talking and laughing about it, so often I saw that, you know, the lead person in a team gets promoted and they're like, ah, you know,
Yeah,
because, and everybody leaves because of him,
right.
because it's in his head now.
Yeah, it's so common that, you
Yeah.
know, a a company will assume, well, because you are a great individual contributor,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to be a great leader of other individual contributors, and that's just not necessarily true. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I mean, we often pick on the salesman and the sales manager,
Right.
but even in the world I grew up in software development, it's true as well. I mean, software developers that are phenomenal as individual contributors,
Mm-hmm.
they're just not cut out for leadership, and they don't recognize the benefit of
Right.
leadership development.
Right. Right. So tell me, in your estimation, Michael, is what kind of things are you would qualify as a good leader?
Oh, there's so many characteristics necessary to be a great leader, but I would submit to
I'll
you
just
that what
name
I
three to five.
well, what I believe to
Yeah.
be kind of the foundation of leadership
Mm-hmm.
is credibility. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I named my company Credible Leaders, is because I believe credibility is the foundation of a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Your team, if you're the leader, your team has to believe in you as their leader, right? They
Mm-hmm.
have to have some level of confidence in your competence,
Mm-hmm.
in your you know, your clear vision, in your ability to lead that team towards a shared goal. I use this working definition of leadership: influencing others towards a shared goal.
Mm-hmm.
Your team, you have to have credibility with
Right.
your team that they believe that you can help them get to that goal that you've
Mm-hmm.
shared. So
Mm-hmm.
that's, for me, that's first and foremost. Everything kind of surrounds credibility.
Right.
Um, and then I think the second thing that I would teach in this covers a gamut of
Yeah.
characteristics, but I teach what I call the golden rule. The
Mm-hmm.
golden rule of leadership. And the golden rule, I mean, it's noted in lots of different religious scriptures and text. I take it from the Bible, but
Mm-hmm.
it's basically, the golden rule says this: treat others the way you would want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason I teach this principle in leadership is because I do a lot of coaching and group sessions where I will get questions, especially from young leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is in this format: how would you deal with a situation where blank, right? Just
Yeah.
fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when I'm asked that question, you can just see the uncertainty and the anxiety and the pressure and the stress. You can see it on that person as they're asking that question.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're not supposed to do this, but I always respond to that question with a question. And that is, I ask that person asking the question, well, how would you want to be treated in that situation?
Right.
And as they start to verbalize that, now, common descriptors always come when I ask that question, but I would like for it to be held, dealt with in private. I would like to, maintain my dignity. All of these,
Hmm.
descriptors about how they would want to be treated. And as they respond verbally to my question, you can see that uncertainty and that anxiety and so forth just start to kind of melt away.
Right.
Now, I'm not suggesting it in any way that whatever situation they're asking about, it just makes it easy and, it's just all a bed of roses. But at least now that leader feels equipped and prepared to
Hmm.
go into whatever that situation is and deal with it as a leader, because they have clarity in their mind around how to deal with the situation. And so that's the reason I really, I teach the golden rule of leadership in almost all aspects of leadership.
Right. Right. And as you're answering the question and asking the young man about, well, how would you describe it? Then also that helps them get in touch what their values are.
Oh, yes,
Right.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't want to dismiss some other teachings of leadership. There's another
Yeah.
principle out there called the platinum rule, and that is, teach others the way they would want to be treated.
Hmm.
I get that. I understand that. And I believe in that. But I'll also say that we need to recognize that knowing how others would want to be treated requires a very, very high level of relationship
Right.
that frankly isn't often the case, especially in a working relationship.
Right.
There are some situations where you may have confidence on how someone else would want to be treated,
Hmm.
but oftentimes you'll find yourself as a leader not knowing for sure how that person would want to be treated. And when you find yourself in that situation, I would submit to you, it's always a safe bet to fall back on the golden rule. Just consider, well, how would you want to be treated?
Right.
And then treat that individual that way. And
Right.
then you're doing right by that person and by the situation.
Right. Right. Yeah. There's, as you're saying that, and it says, what about this? That type of thing. So I think what you're saying
Mhm.
is very important. And so anyway, so what else can you say about being a leader? What's so important about people being a leader,
Sure. So,
or how you
one of the,
train them?
yeah. So again, one of the things that I will go back to is just um, that recognition that, you know, you want to be a leader because it's going to differentiate you.
Hmm.
You want leaders in your organization because it's going to differentiate your organization.
Hmm.
And the fact is, we're all influencers in some shape, form, or fashion, right?
Right.
So to some degree, we're all leaders, right?
Hmm.
And so again, if I talk about my definition of leadership, influencing others towards a shared goal,
Hmm.
we're all influencing in some way or another. We as parents, we influence our children, we influence our spouses, we influence our teammates and coworkers. Um, what I would submit to you though, as a leader, is you want to ensure that you're influencing towards that shared goal.
Hmm.
And I use the word shared there very, very carefully,
Hmm.
because it has two aspects to that meaning in my definition. You have a goal that as a team you want to accomplish, but you've shared it in two ways. First of all, you've properly communicated it, right?
Right.
You've communicated all the details that you can around the goal, around how you're going to achieve the goal. You've communicated why that goal is important, what's
Hmm.
in it for the team if they
Hmm.
achieve the goal. You've communicated all of those aspects, and so that's one part of shared goal,
Hmm.
is that you've communicated. The second part of a shared goal is this idea that we are in this together.
Hmm.
As a leader, I'm not sharing the goal with you so that you can go accomplish the goal.
Right.
I'm sharing the goal with you so that we can go and share, and achieve that
Right.
goal. So it's shared in the sense that we're all in this together.
Hmm.
And so as a leader, I, I've got to get in there with the team, right? I got to be in the trenches with the team, trying to accomplish the goal. And I view my style of leadership as a servant coach. I
Right.
fully believe in servant leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe I'm willing to get my hands dirty with anything necessary to help the team. I'm willing to serve the team in any way I can. But I also view my role as a leader as a coach, also with
Mm-hmm.
the experience and so forth that I have. I want to teach, I want to
Right.
coach the team through these challenges. And so, you know, I just leave the audience with that definition of leadership and say,
Okay.
share in the accomplishment of the goal with your team.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's so important. So everybody feels like they belong a part of the team as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Michael, can you share with me maybe a successful leadership class that you had, or somebody you worked with? You don't have to name them or anything, but just
Sure.
give us an example.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can share lots of kind of, if you will, you mentioned earlier, kind of these aha moments
Yeah.
or these breakthroughs. I mean, you know, I think what's so impressive for me is kind of these personal revelations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I work with a lot of young leaders, or I have a podcast also called Rookie Leaders. So
Okay.
I work with individuals as well as teams, and sometimes it's kind of their first experience in leadership,
Right.
and they face a lot of uncertainty and fears that
Mm-hmm.
really are put on them by their inner self, right?
Right.
Nothing in their past performance or any of their kind of their you know, peer reviews or anything would suggest that they're going to be a bad leader,
Right.
but they will put on themselves these self-imposed fears. One of the most common is called imposter syndrome.
Right.
And imposter syndrome basically causes a person to ask themselves this question: who am I to lead this team?
Mm-hmm.
What qualifies me to lead this team? Or some, you know,
Mm-hmm.
some question in your mind of that form. And I just love watching the revelation happen with these young leaders when I can say to them, as you know, an experienced 27-year leader,
Mm-hmm.
I occasionally have that same exact thought in my own mind.
Right.
And here's how I overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love watching those personal revelations of people realizing that and then overcoming that fear. I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned earlier that I like to see people win.
Right.
And sometimes that win is, you know, a huge revenue goal for their company.
Right.
Sometimes that win is taking a small step of action to overcome an interpersonal fear.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's all winning.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to watch people do that.
Right. Yeah. It's amazing what our minds, or like we like to tell our minds what we should believe. And if you tell our mind it will go find it for us.
Yes. Yeah. We are certainly our own worst critic always. I oftentimes will elaborate on my teaching of the golden rule and say, look, I want you to treat people the way you would want to be treated.
Right.
I don't necessarily want you to treat people the way you treat yourself,
Right.
because the things you say to yourself, you would never say to someone else.
Yeah. Who am I to lead? You're not to lead.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's a very, very good lesson. Very good understanding. Yeah. So can you tell us type of people you like to work with, or who are
Yeah.
your favorite people, or do you have anything particular?
Yeah. So you know, there's two two entities there that I really enjoy. I really enjoy one-on-one coaching and working with individuals who are just kind of these go-getters. This, you know, I want to do better for me. I want to
Mm-hmm.
advance my career. Even to the point I want to be a better husband and things
Right.
like. So that individual that really has a passion to be better at life, be the best
Mm-hmm.
version of themselves.
Right.
I love working with them and kind of in a one-on-one coaching
Mm-hmm.
environment to get them to that goal that they have for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But then secondly, I love teams.
Mm-hmm.
I am a team guy, true and true. I mean, I love sports teams. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was a part of what I consider to be kind of the elite as it relates to military teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the corporate world, I love teams
Mm-hmm.
and this idea of having a really big goal
Right.
and as a team go accomplish that. And so what I really enjoy doing is taking a team and workshop that those types of environments have workshops where we really mold that team into a cohesive, trusting team
Mm-hmm.
that can really, as I said earlier, can really provide the competitive advantage that a lot of businesses need.
Yeah.
I just love watching those teams come together. And sometimes when I enter into a relationship with a team, sometimes in all honesty, I'm really doubtful or I'm really fearful. Can this team even come together and
Right.
work together as a good team? And just to see that happen again for me, because I'm a team guy, I just love watching that happen. So I like the individual coaching, but I like the team coaching too.
Right. 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 So, if somebody wanted to hire you, or where would they find you?
So the best place to find me, and I've got a lot of different things going on, but the best place to find me is at credibleleaders.com.
Okay.
At credibleleaders.com, you'll find your path to everything else that I do. I do a couple of podcasts. I host a community. It's a free online community full of lots of different leaders from
Mm-hmm.
you know kids right out of college that are looking to get into leadership positions, all the way to CEOs and general managers of huge corporations. And so it's meant to be a community where we just learn from one another.
Right.
And so again, credibleleaders.com, you can find a link at the top of that to that community. But you can certainly email me as well from that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just encourage your audience, check me out at credible.com.
Right. Right. And of course, you'll find Michael on podcast.heartatworkonline.org, and then that'll be the video of this show, and
Yes.
then on Anchor as well. It's under Impactful Legacy, so there's an audio there. So you'll find Michael everywhere soon.
Awesome.
Soon
Awesome.
at your drive-in, Michael
Yes.
Tanner.
That's the only thing we can do right now with this COVID-19 thing
Yeah.
going on is driving. We can't go to the theater.
Yeah, well, we can dream that we see see
Yes.
ourselves in this big screen, and we're leading
Yes.
everybody. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
that's so cool. Okay, well, great. Thanks very much for joining me today, Michael. I really appreciate your coming on the show and sharing your talent and your expertise. It's always important
Sure.
to have great leaders.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Mari-Lyn, for the opportunity. It was again a real honor. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Mhm.
And so, with that, I'll say goodbye, be kind, and us from myself at Heart at Work, have an awesome day. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.